Go for it, yeah.
Natural.
We're gonna go around and do, if everyone can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Elaine. I'm the co-founder of Not Too Sweet Craft Sodas. We make craft sodas in fun, funky flavors like lychee lemonade with fun, cute packaging.
So Stephen and I opened Dachi in 2018, and we are based in Hastings Sunrise and have a few businesses in that area now, including Niwa Restaurant that opened in December. We have Tall Shadow Bakery just down the street, as well as Mucker next door, a little gift shop, and Plain Jane Ice Cream.
I'm Allie from Cream Pony. I run and operate the business with my mom, Erin. And so before donuts and fried chicken, which is what we sell at Cream Pony, we're just a family business, and we're working together in North Vancouver and excited to open up in Vancouver soon in the fall.
What were the very first steps when you were starting the business, and how much did you have in the bank at the time?
I was in a completely different business. For over a dozen years after raising 4 kids, I had this crazy dream to open a donut shop in North Vancouver. I couldn't do it on my own, and I begged my daughter to come and help me because I didn't want to do it on my own.
We had an idea and really a lot of gumption and but we were not prepared.
So Allie came on board, and then fortunately our chef landed in our lap. He walked in and he said, "Looking for a job. I've got experience working with donuts. I don't know if you can afford me."
And we didn't. It's a terrifying opening line. You're like, I don't know either.
I said,
we didn't pay. We had no staff.
Yeah, we have to have you.
Yeah.
And it's those leaps of faith that we have to
take a lot of chances.
A lot of chances where we say, like, we're making this big move and it's going to work or it's not. And long story short, in the end, the right place came up at the exact right time. And Vancity has been very good to us over the years, and we had a sizable line of credit, which we tapped into to open the business, and it was just trust and faith all the way.
I'm sold. We started actually in 2018. We came up with 2 flavors in the beginning, a lemonade and a cola, and started with exactly $16,000. We looked at what do we have to purchase, and back then we were still in glass bottles. Our very first purchase was like $2,000 of glass bottles. It took us like 2 weeks to buy them actually. So with limited funds, it was just like a very scary kind of place to be at. I mean, the worst part with the bottles was we bought them, and there was 4 pallets. We didn't even know where to store them, right? So we basically went to our parents' garage, which is not big, and the truck came over, right? And we're like, okay, how do we get this in now, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a little hump there as well, and we had to 3 of us push it in, right? And that was the beginning, and then we started to make our drinks from there in a commercial kitchen, We have to find a commercial kitchen. We need to talk to tons of people, and just to get into that point was a journey by itself.
Miki and I first met working for a larger restaurant group in Vancouver. We were working on the restaurant floor, lunch service. We kind of just started to very slowly build a business plan, do our market research, look for the neighborhood that we wanted to be in.
We spent a lot of time on the business plan. I feel that was a big process of just making sure that everything felt really aligned.
We said it so often, if we build it, they will come, and that's what Hastings Sunrise was for us. Again, we didn't start with a lot, and there was many surprising expenses along the way, but I say we kind of had a pretty strong business plan that we knew that we could work with.
The question is, what's something about your day-to-day that would totally surprise you?
On my day-to-day, I have less control. I think that we both feel like we could start the day with a list of things we want to do, and none of it gets done, because I think that the surprising thing about being a business owner is actually not as much freedom as you initially go into it thinking you have.
Yeah, not as flexible as people think it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we were talking about this on our way in, that especially coming from teaching, and I was so used to, I show up for school and I work my week and I get my holiday and all the things that come with it. And I knew that I was doing my jobs because I was there for those hours. And then when I really struggled in the first 6 months because I felt like I didn't know how to quantify my effort. Am I doing enough? Am I putting in enough effort? Should I be working more? Should I have more projects? And it really took me on a tailspin because you are working 24/7. But then on the outside, I felt like people were looking at me like, oh, you own a business, lucky you, must just go in and have a coffee, hang out. And granted, the perks are amazing and we have the best staff, and I like love going to work, but it's exactly that. I'll have a list and I have these goals, and then it's 5 o'clock and I'm like, I don't even know what happened today.
I think for me it was like when everything goes well, you have very high highs, right? And sometimes things don't go well and they're not in your power to decide, and they have very low lows, right? And just the fluctuation of that was, if you have your 9 to 5, you have a weekend you can kill. Owning a business, you don't really have a weekend anymore just to live that life. It was like huge adjustment.
Yeah, what Alex said about not being able to quantify your output really resonates with me, because when you work an office job, you're there 9 to 5 and you're like, oh, okay, like I did my job today, I sent out the emails. When you're CEO, you're spending a lot more of your time choosing, okay, what's my strategy for the year? Who am I going to partner with? Which kind of products should I come up with? And those don't have a tangible output right away. So I think that would be the thing for me that was unexpected.
What are the biggest unexpected challenges of running a food business in Vancouver specifically?
I think we're not the biggest, most populous city in the world, so what you have available to you as a business owner, like we just don't have as many options. Like I know for your boxes, like how many shops actually offered what you wanted, and same with us for our packaging.
I think finding a second location for us was way more challenging than we thought. A lot of the locations that we found had demolition clauses or had a change of use.
You need to find a place that's going to have your needs. So for example, for us, we need venting, and in order to get something that's vented, it's probably going to be a restaurant, and the restaurant is usually for sale. So if you'd like to have their space, you have to fork out hundreds of thousands of dollars to then tear down their business and not use their brand, because you never are. Oh, you don't need to just a budget for your build and for your rent and all the next things that are coming, but you also need to be prepared to purchase the company that you are not going to use.
Most of the time, they're not even selling the actual brand itself. Regardless if you want to use it or not, they're probably not even selling it. It's just access to the lease, and that's what you're purchasing.
Yeah, and it's competitive, so there's no lowballing. Oh, no one's going to pay that, and then we'd watch them go one by one. Each place we looked at, oh, they got what they asked, and that is how competitive it is. So it's wild.
That's the name of the game that we're in.
Have you ever had a major supply chain or customs delay? How did you guys?
We can start, I think, because ours is honestly a resounding no. Pretty much everything that we're doing is sourced from within Canada, and for the most part from within BC. We're purchasing directly from the local farms for all of our produce for both of the restaurants. But for us,
our models,
we just haven't had the experience yet, thank goodness.
Yeah. We have a story, and we got like a whole container full of cans. There were some supply chain issues that delayed the cans, and we already have like the manufacturing set up, right? Like basically every minute we look like at the tracker.
This was us being affected by global supply. Like we got an update from the supplier that there was a delay because of Houthi
rebels,
pirates somewhere. We were like, okay.
He's kind of like also taught us like to plan ahead. Things happen, right? If you give 2 months is enough time. No, let's make it 4 months.
Does that mean you need more warehouse space to store it?
We leave more time now.
Right.
We're stressed out. Stressed out for 2 months straight.
So just what food trend are you seeing right now, and how are you responding in your own business?
Yeah, I feel like we get a lot of interest, almost feels like pressure sometimes to follow food trends because we have such a playful menu. Ultimately, we've realized that we like to bring in new innovative things every once in a while, but actually food trends don't serve us. And when we do them, the effort that we put in doesn't give us anything back.
Sometimes it's not even a trend. Sometimes it's a desire for people to want to be included in what we do. So it can be gluten-free donuts or vegan donuts. And we love both of those communities. But we actually physically in our store can't do vegan because that would require a completely different fryer to fry them. We can't do gluten-free because you need an oven to make those donuts, and we don't have it. So
it's been a hard reality for sure.
One thing that we've done is we've partnered with another local donut company in Vancouver,
Shout out
which you would think, Bonus Bakery, which you would think is our competition, but it's not. So we've partnered with them. They do plant-based donuts. We're selling their donuts.
On the trend thing, I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, we were all like, let's go sugar-free, but now we've all realized that just means that it's not going to taste good. So I think right now the trend is people are happy to have sugar, but just maybe less of it, and that's kind of our sweet spot.
Yeah.
The idea that small business has to be everything for everyone doesn't make sense with small business, and it's a challenge, but also the beauty of it is it can have so much personality or be something that is very uniquely, specifically a thing because it's smaller. And so just trying to keep that in mind and stick with that and go, no, we really believe in the way that we're doing things, and it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to capture everyone as an audience, but the people who feel aligned with what we do, it really speaks to them, and then you start to build your community that way.
If anybody comes over and says like, oh, can you make this, right? And you concentrate on this, all of a sudden, like, everything else just falls on the side, right? So we had to make like decisions like, okay, this is what we concentrate on. Even if like a Costco comes along and says like, could you make like a diet drink, right? Or we could make money off of that, but then we wouldn't be focusing on what we're really all about, right? So that's another thing that we're thinking about as well.
There's only so many of us and so many hours in the day.
And usually there's somebody else who's doing what they're asking, and I think that's also what we're trying to do is like, if someone does ask for a request for something, I'm happy to promote the next business who does it really well. And like we know lots of amazing gluten-free bakeries that it's like, please use their services, and that's what they excel at, or whatever the case is.
I think the thing with trends and being small business is really discerning what is a flash in the pan trend and what is going to be a long-term like thing to focus on and thing to like really embrace. I think that might be something that resonates with you when it coming up with flavors.
Absolutely, we definitely do get requests from people for certain flavors, and I mean, like you guys said, like they maybe want to be a part of it, or it's just something they're interested in, but maybe it's not going to be something that's central to our business in 10 years. So we choose not to follow up on it.
But we're nice about it. We tell them. We're nice.
Of course.
We're thinking about it the next 2 years, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there is a major hidden or really unexpected cost that you really didn't plan for.
I think that you don't realize the impact of like just as small as the difference of 5 cents on an item. After 3 years, we've realized the impacts that we're doing, like disservice to our business. That surprised us, and that was definitely challenging, and in making sure that you really know your labor targets and you have the right amount of staff, but just the right amount of staff, and having people manage those things was a big undertaking.
And it just constantly changes throughout the year and through the seasons too. So it's taken us a number of years, say 2.5 years now, to sort of understand the flow of our business and how things have to work. Whenever we make changes to our prices and things now, it's not an emotional change or a decision. It's just purely numbers. It's based on, good math.
Hidden cost, like the first thing that came to my mind was not money. It was really like the lack of experience sometimes and making wrong decisions. Working with the wrong people. At a thing like 2 years ago where we really worked with somebody that we shouldn't have worked with. There were a lot of red flags, and it just cost us like weeks of sleepless nights, right? I can't put like a dollar sign on that, but we weren't as effective as we could have been, and it taught us a lesson, which is, I think, invaluable, like to work with the right people and to vet them.
That's one thing that we've learned along the way. We've been through a few too many lawyers in the early days, and now we have a really strong small business lawyer that's helped us. The bank managers at Vancity were really great at helping kind of put our accounts in the right place just so we could manage our cash flow better. And I think it's just getting those relationships early on. You don't realize how much of an expense they are if you don't have it set up.
And as you say, headache and heartache. And that side of it, because some of the steps that we then had to undo later and go, oh no, this is how we're going to structure the corporations and work that out, and oh, we can't afford the accountant that we think we should have, kind of thing. And then later on having to switch was very expensive, and things that you want to tell your younger self or the next pals that are coming up through, being like, please listen to this.
I think the nice thing is also like once you know the right people, they will refer you to other right people. Right. So it's like kind of both ways. Once you're stuck in like a bad environment, you just go down the road and maybe you give up. But then like you can pivot into a good environment, find good people, and they make life a lot better.
I guess, like, how do you budget your slowest months and still be able to keep things going?
I think we're a very seasonal business. Nobody drinks any soda over Christmas. So what we do is we have to produce everything like in those months, right? Winter and fall. And these expenses that we have are like so high in these months where we don't have any sales, all right? But we need to do it, otherwise we won't be ready for the summer, right? We really work with like lines of credit. Vancity is a huge partner in that. They helped us like over the last 2 years with the lines of credit. And yeah, that's what we do, line of credits and bootstrapping, basically. Yeah.
I think in restaurant there is a real thought of the high season. Oh, in the summer I'm gonna make hay, but it's just important to remember that the winter, the slower seasons do come, and as long as you manage for that or keep the mindset for that, you're always going to be safe in the slower months. I think it's just having that mindset.
I can attest to the fact that I think in our quieter months, which might be December, January, I think we're doomed. I'm like, we're done. It's washed up, like we're done, we're dried up, it's nothing's gonna happen. And you're really good about saying, you know.
It's also good to have a business partner that kind of pushes you out of the depths when it's in the darkest time.
Totally. I have a friend.
You have to take turns though. That's stay away from each other.
It does work out usually that we're not both there at the same time. We're all three of us. Like you just can't be there at the same time.
Our business partner Chen is the most stable, calm person ever, and he will always just be like, it's okay.
We need a Chen.
Yeah. Even when it's the best day of our lives, we're like, oh, we're gonna go worldwide. And he's like, yeah, pretty good.
I think what we do for that, for us to be like on the same level, like just when we have highs, every win we just like party a little bit. You know, just put some music on and just. I'm not a good dancer at all, so you know, I'm just like doing like some moves, right?
I think one thing early on that was a huge support or a good little tool and resource we had was actually our Vancity banking manager, Marcel. He helped us set up some of the bank accounts and said, okay, cash flow wise, what are we looking at? And helped us set up kind of how we were going to utilize our cash flow and how to think about it and go, okay, but annually you're going to have to pay corporate tax. Here's how often you're going to pay GST. PST is monthly for us. And so keeping, like we were saying, like keeping the lean mindset and being like, okay, in our like active account, there's this much. Yes, there may be other monies here, but we have to pay that out. It's not ours. So don't have it in the main bank account thinking that we're gonna be rich because there's that amount that's going out in the next few months kind of thing. And so trying to manage it that way was like a really practical tool, I think, that helped us in the beginning kind of keep that mindset there.
Well, we're talking about mistakes and regret.
Amy, you're so spicy.
Spill the tea.
What's a financial mistake you've made in your business, and what did it teach you?
We recently decided to do a huge change and change our POS company after using them for 3 years. And that was so much time, you know, doing demos of every different POS company,
of
just deciding, and you really like you hone in on one. We have all these very clear things that we have to have, and we were all in, and it was going to be massive. And then we went to go launch it. We had all the gear, we're ready to go. And the company on that morning called us at 6 a.m. and the person who said, I was laid off today and the company's been sold, and we still have our current POS company, you know, and I mean,
that might have been a blessing in
could have been.
disguise. I don't know.
But it was a lot of.
It was 6 months of research and meetings and negotiating with them down to the penny.
I think when we first started, we were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We were like, everything was just in our head. And then I guess we tripled our production runs, but we didn't think that we needed to triple everything else. So then the cash is coming in, but it's not as quick as now your production runs. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cash flow, this is an issue. And then which Vancity came in and totally helped save the day. But yeah, that was something we had to learn, like how to actually manage cash flow. And that's been a really big change for us in the last year.
Break down to the best of your ability in some capacity, whatever that means to you, the cost of making your product and what people might not understand about pricing an item.
What people don't see is like we still have to get the drink to the distributor, which is who the grocery store buys from. So they're going to add their markup, and then the grocery store is going to buy it from them, and they're going to have to add their markup. So there's a lot of people involved in getting the final product into your hands, and maybe people don't see that as much, but it all adds up.
the cost outside of just what you're looking at or what you're consuming. It's not just the canned beverage or the liquid inside that canned beverage. It's also the can, it's also the label, and then all the logistics you're talking about. And I feel like with restaurants and the bakery as well, it's the paper towels, it's the toilet paper, it's the chemicals for the dishwasher. Just added costs that that is outside of the plate of the thing that you're enjoying, which is the beautiful thing. I don't want you to have to think about that when you're eating the thing that you're excited about. But all of that does need to get paid out and has to make sense for the business to exist. So I think that's...
Because we've all sat at a restaurant and be like, I can make this at home for way less. But, you could.
Yeah, you're paying for the convenience. I think food and beverage comes under so much scrutiny because it is an essential item. And people are seeing it every day in the grocery stores, and they're able to compare apples. They're able to compare it. But when it actually comes down to it, what it takes to get it to the plate or get it to the into their grocery bag is a lot more difficult than what they think.
Yeah. And it does come down to taking every single recipe, every ingredient that goes into it, and then having a cost for exactly how much it costs to make this chicken sandwich, including the boxes and it's other things in the shop as well. And it's been so good for us to have that and to look at it, say quarterly to make sure that we're still on track, and it helps us to negotiate with our suppliers just to save money.
Yeah, I think you're right too. It's just the amount of hands that go into every single thing. One single donut wasn't even just made by one person. It was made by many people who all have to get a proper wage, and all those other pressures that I think business owners feel as well, is that you want to create an amazing team. Well, in order to have an amazing team, you need to make sure that everyone's getting paid really well and they have a sustainable living, and that all comes down to the price that's put onto the item.
And Vancity has always been behind the idea of having a living wage, which we've tried to do as well. And in Vancouver, it's really, really hard. But to calculate what does that mean for our staff living in Vancouver, paying them a living wage, and as a restaurant owner, very hard when the margins are so slim to do that. But it's something that we are mindful of, and I think Vancity's been a real champion of that for decades, even before it was like the trend to do.
Have you ever had to raise your prices, and how did you approach it and communicate it to your customer?
Just recently, actually, because we had the problems with the tariffs. We are in aluminum cans, right? How it works is Canada sells the raw material to the US, 25%. Then they make the can, sell it back to Canada, 25%, right? Also, the dollar now is like, in Canadian dollars, just like way off. We pay everything in USD. So we had to write a letter to our distributor explaining why we had to raise our prices.
And we've seen that it's been across the industry, so everyone has to do it in order to keep their business sustainable. And most people are pretty understanding.
Yeah, it is certainly front of center of so many conversations right now. I think consumers are also probably very aware of that, so it's too bad, but it's the times.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to learn so many times when we first opened the business. Like I said, we were just kind of like going for it, didn't necessarily know how much our product should be worth, and so we did have to adjust multiple times in our first 3 years. I feel very uncomfortable when we have to make a change, and it's never big. It's always a dime on an item, but I will feel everyone's gonna know, no one's gonna come here, they're gonna think we're ripping them off, and they're not gonna understand. And the reality is that no one asks. And they don't. Occasionally you'll get a customer who wants to understand the pricing of something on your menu, which is fine. Most of the time, like, people get it and nobody is understanding, and it became like I had to, not be so fearful that everyone's gonna think we're like doing something against them.
If everyone in Vancouver committed to shopping local just once a week, what kind of change do you think we would see?
I think we'd see more of a sense of community. Just using a non-food example, like if you wanted to go buy some nails, you could you could click on Amazon, or you could actually get out, go to your hardware store, meet the people there, learn the faces in your neighborhood. Maybe you'll see a project that, maybe I want to try that. And it's just, I think, a richer experience to have when you can like actually participate in your community.
You'd have a richer connection to that corner grocery store. We have Donald's Market in Hastings Sunrise, and that's where everybody goes. Everybody talks about that's our grocery store. If everybody bought groceries once a week, we would have more of those. We would have more kind of rich grocery stores, which is just, they're a treat to shop at, the quality of product is just so much better.
Yeah, I think people crave it too, because people love to support small business, and our people that come to our shop are incredible. Our customers are incredible, and it really does give you that sort of village feel, or that you're part of something together.
Yeah.
And I think that like economic stability will come from having a circular economy. Like it just, it is keeping, there's strength to it. So.
What would you say to someone who doesn't think that where they spend their money really matters?
No, it definitely matters because like you're voting with your dollars for a world that, you know, isn't just a bunch of conglomerates. You're voting to support someone in your neighborhood, to have cream pony instead of just a million Tim Hortons. And I think that's a really important thing to do.
Yeah.
Also, it tastes better.
Thank you.
I don't know what you want on record and say.
But it's true. And if everybody does well, then everyone in the community has money to spend and continue to invest and reinvest in each other's businesses.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. Would love people to know that.
You know, it was a terrible time for us all, I think, but COVID was the time that just showed us how much we actually meant to the community around us. But I remember sitting kind of outside the restaurant, beautiful sunny day, and we were like, what are we going to do? And we decided to do a couple of like community initiatives. We started working with some other restaurants, putting together little $5 meals, and we couldn't actually believe how many of the people in our neighborhood came to keep us afloat, and we just wouldn't be here. That's why all of our businesses are in that neighborhood, because they believe in us, and we wouldn't have kept going if it wasn't.
I think for us, like the community was very essential for us to grow as a brand. So when we started, we were in glass bottles, completely different name. And we started selling our drinks at farmers market. And every week people came back and they told us like they liked our drinks because it tastes not too sweet, right? We're like, all right, so our old name, you know, might not as resonate as much, but it's not too sweet, really stuck with us. So we actually during COVID, we had a lot of time. So we rebranded to Not Too Sweet from our old brand. And then the rest is the history, as you say.
Farmers markets are the best.
Yeah. They're brutally honest sometimes too. Right?
If you want the best feedback, take it to the market.
Some people can't handle the spice. We had a ginger beer, right? It was on a spicier side, and it just like got it on the wrong throat or whatever, and I just like started coughing, right? And you have like move
away from my stall.
Please move away. You know, so that's where community is just great. They're just most of the times very honest and help you. They want you to succeed.
It's not coming from a place of wanting to be critical.
Yes.
Because they want to see you do well, and it's just so sweet.